question is, I work for the state of Oklahoma. I have for 10 years. I work for the Department of Human Services, and I deal firsthand with low-income Oklahomans. I did go to law school and decided that I wanted to devote my career to helping these people. And I've heard a lot of stories from low-income Oklahomans who received health care coverage for the first time thanks to the Affordable Care Act. Many of these for their children to receive treatment for issues that they've had long-standing. I fear that if the ACA is repealed and replaced with something less comprehensive, that I'm going to be the one on the front line answering questions about how these parents could help their children receive treatment for issues that they can't now afford. So what is your suggestion, your advice to me on how to one-on-one deal with these parents who now can't afford health insurance if the Affordable Care Act is repealed and replaced?
Two parts to that. The first part would be, whenever the Affordable Care Act gets repealed, it's not going to cut off anything immediately. Americans were forced into this system. It took a couple of years, and so there will be an off-ramp. There's an on-ramp to get people on it. There'll be an off-ramp to get off. Part of the way that they've been looking to explore that is once you open up the market, you'll have insurers and others that will do that. We'll come back to that. With regard to those of varying station in life, you will have what we were talking about. I was talking to this lady on the Medicare issue earlier. I was probably answering the right thing with a different question, but the health service or the health savings accounts that you have would allow people that can't afford to use their resources to get matching tax credit. Those that can't do that, listen to me. You're not going to listen. You'll never hear what I have to say, and you can't criticize. So those that don't have health savings accounts and can't afford that, their tax credits will be more. They will have the ability to pay for those things off of like an income credit today that we're talking about. You know, people that don't make money, they get an earned income credit. I don't know if it will be specifically like that, but what I do know is that they will have tax credits that will help pay for that insurance. Now with the market, I can tell you this. The insurers will be reduced in cost. President Obama right now said, well, not now, but earlier, he said that your health care will only cost about $2,500 a family.
That's right.
And we know now that was not true. The average cost of health care now for a family of four is $12,500. So one of the things that you see is a big rise in prices. You're going to have insurers like we had before. You know, from the time we wore tricorn hats to the time of 2010, we didn't have the Affordable Care Act, but we had health care. So
40 million.
and look, people that had no money, they were able to walk into any emergency room and get care. What we'll see in a case like this is you would have the tax credits that would be applied to them, and then an insurer is able to use those credits and use that payment or use that insurance so that they can have their care. That's part of the thing that they're working through. With the Affordable Care Act, look, if you have deductibles that are going to wipe out your savings, that's not good. If you have health insurance that doesn't cover your health needs, that's not good. If you have a doctor that you can't use, although you've used him your whole life, or you've used him for your family or specific needs, and now the government's going to tell you got to change that, that's not good. The American people know that, and that's why they've demanded from their elected officials, even though some of you don't believe that, but most of America knows that the Affordable Care Act is not affordable. Okay, we are...
That you are not addressing, and you are not answering these people's questions.
Let's see. Yep, you're right. All right. Here's what we're going to do. We have time for two questions, but not if you're not going to be
But you're
respectful.
not going to answer.
So, 2 more questions. All right, we got one right here with this gentleman. Go ahead.
I'm from Oklahoma City. First, I'd like to thank you for showing up and taking the slings and arrows. Probably showing
Yeah.
up paintbrushes by now, but-
I've been a lot worse than this.
But anyhow, I guess, as you can see from tonight's little gathering, healthcare is a intensely personal and emotional issue. And it is for me also. And I have a question concerning the Affordable the Affordable Care Act myself. As I'm pretty sure as you already know, having paid attention to all the polls that are going on out there, I think we can all agree that the Affordable Care Act needs to be fixed. Even the Act's namesake has said that this needs to be fixed, okay? But all of those polls, every single one of them, have said beyond a shadow of a doubt that a vast majority of Americans support 3 aspects of that law. One of them is no pre-existing conditions. The second one is no catastrophic limits. And the third one, which is intensely personal to me, and I'll show you why in a second, is that adult children can stay under parents' policies until the age of 26. I want to read you an email that I sent to Senator Langford and to Senator Imhoff, okay? And I would like for you to comment on that after I get through reading it. I voted for both you and James Langford, and entirely agree that the ACA needs to be replaced. But I, along with millions of Americans, depend on certain aspects of that law. One of those provisions is coverage for adult children under the age of 26. My 22-year-old daughter Megan is currently fighting stage 4 ovarian cancer. We have Blue Cross Blue Shield federal health insurance. Even with insurance, the out-of-pocket cost of fighting this horrible disease has been astronomical. Without insurance coverage, we could lose everything we have worked for. I implore you to ensure that this does not happen, regardless of whether you repeal and replace the ACA or repeal and delay replacement. That provision must be protected. The financial futures and the lives of millions of Americans depend on it. Thank you for your time. What I got from both of those gentlemen was a nice crafted form letter, okay, which had to have taken a whole 3 seconds to hit the send button. Now, I would like your position on that aspect of the law.
On the pre-existing.
On pre-existing, on children being able to stay under their parents' policies until the age of 26, which I just said is personal to me, and no catastrophic limit, okay? I'm sure that you agree, sir, that those 3 aspects of that law, the vast majority of Americans support those 3 aspects. If any of those things are worked out in the new law, there will be consequences to be paid. Now, the Republicans, Congress has had 7 years to figure this out. Figure it out. We're going to put 60 bills on President Obama's desk to repeal this thing. Okay? What are we going to do?
Okay. No, I appreciate the question. Like I was stating earlier, when it comes to the pre-existing conditions, I believe that most of America is at the same place that you are when it comes to pre-existing conditions being wanted by the American public. So then it becomes a question of how do we pay for it and how do we construct it? I believe that President Trump believes the same thing because he made it the first bullet point on his guidelines on a replacement for the Affordable Care Act. He listed it as the #1 thing, pre-existing conditions. So what I can tell you is both parties believe that we need to keep the aspects of pre-existing conditions. In terms of what will it cover with the catastrophic, I don't know. I'll ask Dr. Price, Tom Price, who's now our Health and Human Services. I'm going to take this last softball here because he's been bold here, and I like people that are bold and take risks. So go ahead.
Well, sir, I promise it's going to be softball. Well, sir, I think if you look at what we got unfolding here, I think you're sitting on a powder keg, and you kind of brought this up at the beginning, that we need to find a way to reach out across the aisle and not see each other's enemies. Because I think right now, everyone in this room, well, half of this room sees the other half of this room as an enemy. I'm telling you that right now. I mean, we got a phalanx here, and we got a phalanx there. That's what's happening in this room. That's the feeling I got in this room.
Listen, show some respect.
I'm telling you, we're gonna have to do something. I don't know what the answer to that is. I'm gonna ask you if you've gotta get, you know what, I think I do know the answer. I'm gonna shake their hands on my way out the door. There you go. Simple act, but I think we're gonna have to do more than that. I wanna know what you wanna do.
Okay.
We need real leadership on that.
And I'll give you some concrete examples of what we're doing. I have passed a lot of bipartisan legislation. I possess something in my personal collection of notes and letters that most all of my Democratic colleagues do not have. You know what it is? A note from President Obama. A handwritten note. Why? I wrote him. I talked to him about some things on criminal justice reform. We had a dialogue written. He wrote me back. And you know what? We found some common ground there with the President of the United States. It was a real honor to get his note. And he got to hear from me. Why? Because I showed him respect and he paid in kind. In the same fashion, I went several times to President Obama's White House and talked to his Southeast Asia experts. I talked to his trade experts. We came up with a lot of ideas. We became good friends with the Democratic White House liaison. Why? Because if you don't talk to each other, you're not going to know, one, what you truly believe, and two, what the other person believes. And if you don't listen, guess what? You won't get to the best solutions.
Yeah.
So it's important that we do that. And I will continue to do that because that's what I've done. Why? Because I'm not a politician. That was not my life. I worked as a team, as a soldier, and everybody that was there, they're not shooting at your socioeconomic background. They're not shooting at the color of your skin. They're not shooting at your gender. They're shooting at the American flag on your shoulder. And you learn how to stick together and work together. And so that's all I've done most of my adult life. It's not going to change my habits in Washington. I mean, that's the way I operate. Here's a concrete example of something else that we've done in just this past 4 weeks. Seth Moulton, which I've mentioned before, Democrat, Harvard graduate, Ivy League, all of that, from Boston, right? He and I have become good friends. Why? Because we shared the bonds of brotherhood in war. And so he and I, as we often meet and we'll talk, we thought, how can we bring more of us together? So we decided to form the Warriors Caucus. And by forming the Warriors Caucus, we're bringing the combat, and there's not a lot of us, we're bringing the combat veterans in Congress together, and we are making a bipartisan caucus to deal with issues on foreign policy, on national defense, and to a lesser extent, veterans issues. When we do that, is that we get and exchange ideas with each other, and then we're able to influence our peers. Why? Because they respect us. They respect us as warriors. That it's like, let me tell you about this country. Let me tell you about these people. Let me tell you about this Syrian refugee who's trying to get out of the path of war. Let me tell you about some of this stuff. And guess what happens? People will respect us because of our experience. And when it's Republican and Democrat, guess what happens? I influence 3 or 4, Seth influenced 3 or 4, and the 30 members or so that we hope to get in our caucus, that's a lot of votes. Now we're carrying some bills. Now we're carrying some foreign policy. Jerry Connolly and I did an FAA reform. Jerry Connolly, we don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, but guess what we saw eye to eye on?
Football.
Well, no, because he's from Virginia. What we saw eye to eye on was the Federal Aviation Administration, because we were doing a dumb thing. We were taking 55-year-old air traffic controllers and saying, you're too old to work anymore because you're 55. Now, I take offense to that. I don't know about some of you older folks, but I take offense to that. And so one of the things that we tried to do was find a way to take these air traffic controllers. Okay, fine, if they're not going to stay in the control tower because you're worried about, being on the razor's edge, who knows better about training new air traffic controllers other than air traffic controllers with all of that experience? So we put together a bill that changed the law, and President Obama signed it last December. We got it changed, and now they're allowing these instructors to be in the classroom with their experience without forcing them to retire. And what does that matter? Well, not only does it keep safer skies, but if you haven't checked lately, we got 6,500 people that work at the FAA in Oklahoma City. So this is important to solve problems in a bipartisan fashion. However, we'll never do it if we don't show deference and respect to one another.
Amen.
We have to show deference and respect.
Yeah.
I want to thank you tonight for coming. As you can see, my town halls are a little different. What I'd like to do is just thank you tonight for your time. This is our democratic republic at work. This is our republic that does the right things right here, where we can dialogue, where you get to talk directly to your officials in Washington, and where we get to listen to one another. And guess what? The views are different, but if we're going to get to the solutions, we got to find the overlapping circles and find the common ground in between. Thank you all. God bless you. Appreciate it.